Hello. Oh my gosh, it feels like it's been a month since I've seen you guys. A month of freaking Sundays. How is everybody? Welcome. Excuse me. So, hello, Miss Mandy and Christina and Pokey. We'll give it a few minutes. Before we start, I'll just say everything is alleged and our opinion only and get that out of the way. So I've been MIA this week. My plan was to obviously do a live on Wednesday and Friday like normal, but Monday I had a friend pass away unexpectedly at 40 years old from diabetes. Tuesday, my lifelong best friend's father passed away unexpectedly. Tuesday night, I woke up, caught the flu, and that lasted Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and now here I am. So it has been a crazy week. It's been rough, but we are here. We feel better, and it is all good. Hot pot gravy, you made it at the beginning. Look at you. Yes, ma'am. So I also remember on Monday, before I ended the live, there were a couple people that did want to touch on the Charlie Kirk situation. So I do want to talk a little bit about that. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but before I leave at the end, I do want to chit chat about it. I think I have kind of an unpopular opinion, but I'm curious to see where you guys sit with it too, just because we haven't really talked about it, not on a live or anything. I look a mess, and baby, I don't care today. Okay. Hey, tattoo gal. How's your guys this week? Has everybody had a good week? Hanging in there? I can't believe it's freaking October already. And it's still like 90 degrees where I'm at. Usually by October, it's like, okay, hoodies and 50s, 50-degree weather, maybe 60s if you're lucky. Hey, True Crime X. You're still working. Uh-oh. Hopefully you don't have too much longer. Hi, Bianca. Bianca, I still need to I'll respond to your email because I still need to talk to you. It won't let me send you anything on PayPal. I tried like 20 times. So I want to see what the best option is for us since you live in Australia. Hello, Mark and Betty. I know I love hoodie weather. I love when it starts to get just a little more cooled off rather than like muggy and hot and stinky. But when it starts to get into like October and you get like, hoodie weather, but it hasn't been hoodie weather yet. It's literally still been 90 degrees and I'm just waiting. Hello, Leah. Waiting for hoodie days. Okay, so I do want to go over sweatshirt. Oh my gosh. Yes, hot pie gravy. I'm obsessed with like hoodie time. I love hoodies. I don't care if you wear it with shorts or pants or I just love sweatshirts. They just feel so like yummy, especially it's the morning and you're drinking your coffee and you got your hoodie on and ooh, I love it. And then plus, like Christmas is coming and yeah, love it. Love Halloween. So I do want to go over the newest Dylan interview. And I find a lot of this super interesting. I don't know if it's for the main reasons that other people find it interesting, but I find some of this strange. So I'm going to share the screen and we are going to watch it. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but as you know, I've got to stop it anyway. So I'll give my input on it. Okie doke. And like we all thought, this one is the first part. And instead of putting out the interviews in order, the first part, and then they took her back out and then they brought her back in, they released the second part first. And I don't know if they're like trying to play games with it. I do feel like they're kind of trolling us in a bit with like what they're releasing and the order they're releasing it in and things like that. But at this point, I'm kind of annoyed with all of them anyway. I have sent over, as you guys probably know, 40 million FOIA requests, and a lot of them were very simple, and they have found every single solitary reason to either deny me tell me it doesn't exist or tell me I have the wrong department. Then when I send it to the correct department, they tell me to, then they tell me to go to a different department, and then it's just a big circle. And it's probably, I'm sure, because my name is brand new, I'm sure, to any FOIA requests out there since I'm new, but still, I'm like, some of these things I asked for are ridiculous. Like I asked for this, what we're going to watch today, and absolutely not. They tell me it either doesn't exist or I have the wrong department. It's just so annoying. Hello, officially bubbly. Silly girl. Hi, Fizzy. Okay, let's go.
All right, my name is Lawrence. Have everybody actually spoke it the common way? You can't see me crazy with you? No. What's your middle initial? And what's your last name? What's your date of birth?
2003.
So right away, I noticed her body language. I noticed she's got her legs crossed and her arms tucked in, like covering her midsection. That usually means that you are uncomfortable. You're trying to protect yourself. And then she starts messing with her hands, and that's self-soothing. So, I mean, obviously the whole friend thing and everything, you know, they just passed and that whole thing. So I would expect to see that a little bit anyways, but because we know more than that, it makes it look a little bit more like she's hiding something rather than she just went through something bad. That's just my opinion, though.
And what is a good phone number for you?
I can't stand these redactions. It's for no reason.
You've got your phone with you, no worries.
Yeah.
Do you have any pictures, any video, or anything like that? Any social media posts?
No.
Okay. And what's a good address for you?
Like,
just make somewhere. Where are you living right now? Are you here at the university?
If you or a loved one were sexually abused at these Illinois youth facilities or
What house is that?
what do you mean?
Is that an apartment or a sorority?
It's a house.
Okay. I don't know the sorority, so I apologize. I don't even know if there's any what's there.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me what you know.
Okay, so there was a Sumach party, obviously, as we were drinking. I left to go to my friend's house.
When was that party?
I think I went there around like 10:30ish.
Last night or this morning?
Last night. And then I went to and then me and my friend and then Beth, right?
Hi, Carol.
And then we just all went to bed. It was the house we went to for a little bit, and then it was just me, like, who came home, and then later.
Okay.
So a couple of things I noticed here. It annoys the crap out of me that they had somebody interview her who has not even seen the crime scene. So if you haven't seen the crime scene, you don't even know really what questions to ask other than basic questions. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you have somebody in there, even if they aren't as experienced or don't have a lot of investigation skills under their belt? At least they were there and saw the crime scene and could ask question after question after question. Take me through every literal minute from the time you got home till the time you ran down to Bethany's room, right? Why would you put somebody in there to ask her questions that can't even picture the crime scene? So you wouldn't even know what to ask other than basic.
She's a girl.
Okay. And are they all in the same place?
She has.
Okay.
nights.
Got it. Okay. So you guys were there, you came home early,
Yeah.
and then eventually
She's so
she
fidgety.
went to her place. Where does she live?
She lives like down the street. I don't know exactly where
Okay.
it is.
Okay, so this leads me to a point. So this is supposedly her friend that came to watch the Vampire Diaries with her at what? Midnight, 1 in the morning, whatever time it was, 2 in the morning. Now, she says this is her friend. But she doesn't know where she lives. Like, it doesn't really. Can you guys hear me? Oh my goodness. Why does it keep doing this? Can you see me? Can you hear me and see me? You hear me? Can you see me? No see. Okay, I didn't think so. One second. There we go. Okay. Is that better? Sorry, guys. It just blipped out on me. I don't know why. I'm going to try and find a different streaming service because I paid too much money for this to continue to do this over and over. So I'll find something new. So, okay, here's my question with these statements. So, hello, I'm back. Sorry. So, she has this so-called friend. I want to know how that came about. So you've got what, this friend? Did you run into her at a party? Were you just walking home and you ran into her and you were like, "Hey, what's up, friend? Do you want to come watch TV with me at 1 in the morning?" Like, I feel like it's odd. How does that happen? How does that happen at that time? Now, something I don't think many of us have really thought about, and it dawned on me today. Do you guys think that maybe Dylan is either bisexual or gay? It doesn't matter either way, but I'm just saying, you call her your friend, but you seem to not really know anything about her or where she lives or anything. Did you invite her over late at night for like a Netflix and chill? I feel like that might be kind of strange at like 1 in the morning to run into somebody and be like, "Hey, do you want to come to my house and watch TV at 1 in the morning?" I don't know. It just made me think because I've never thought about that. Could she possibly be bisexual or gay? And it doesn't matter either way. It's just something I never thought of before. I don't think that I personally, as I'm walking home from a party, which means I don't really want to be out anymore, would I ask a random person or a person I don't know that well to come hang out and watch TV with me at 1 in the morning? I don't know. I don't know. Not sure. But it's a possibility, and it doesn't matter, but it might make sense to some other things too, like maybe why she might have been jealous of some of the girls in the house, because there's a different animosity there if she's bisexual or gay, right? Just an angle that I haven't thought of before, and it just dawned on me today because I thought it was weird to invite a female over that you barely know at 1 in the morning to watch TV. And then the girl left like what, less than an hour later? Kind of strange.
And then Maddie and Kaylee came home from the club.
Mark and
And
Betty.
then we all went to bed.
What time do you think you got home?
I think I got home around 12:30 to 1.
Okay.
Between there.
And then what time do you think you came home?
Like 10, 20 minutes after I did.
Okay. And then Maddie and who else came from the club?
Kaylee. I think they came home like 1:32ish.
Okay. And at that point, nothing.
Nothing weird at all.
Okay.
Then everyone's asleep. At 4 a.m., I like look at my phone and I can hear Kaylee and Murphy like dancing. I can tell it's her voice and that it's Murphy because he's barking. And then I hear her go upstairs because you can hear like everything. And I heard her say, "There's someone here," and I thought she ran downstairs. And then I jumped up and locked my door because I didn't know what else to do.
So Kaylee and Murphy's her.
Murphy, so Kaylee and
If you live with
Oh my God.
diabetes, you're
She
making
doesn't even
decisions
know-
constantly.
Bread for the table?
Shut up, lady. He doesn't even
his
know
Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, they
Murphy
share the
is.
dog
Like,
pretty much.
And Murphy's the dog?
Yeah,
Okay. What is Kaylee's last name?
Goncalves.
but do you know why I think they put him in here to ask her questions? Because really, honestly, it makes zero sense to put somebody in there who hasn't seen the crime scene, doesn't know the layout of the house. How are they supposed to ask very detailed questions, like about even where spatter is, or where any droplets might be, or doors opened or closed, or, like things that you would need to know that when you really dig into them and pressure somebody on questions, you would need to know the layout. You need to know the crime scene. You need to know everything that you see when you're in there. The reason I think they put him in there, though, to ask questions is because he knew the narrative. He knew what narrative they needed to follow. He knew what was happening, what the goal was, what the narrative was, and what the steps were. So technically, did he need to be in the house to follow a narrative? No. And that's why I think they put him in there.
Boy, spell that for me.
Gonclaves.
And is she here today?
No.
Was she one of the ones that was hurt?
Yeah.
Okay.
He sure did. Understood these things.
Okay. Where is Kaylee's room compared to yours?
Like right above my
Straight
face.
above. What are you on first, second?
Second.
And she's on third?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said that Kaylee and share Murphy
Yeah. This.
and this Jack's
Yeah.
current.
He's ex right now.
Okay. Any problems between Kaylee?
No.
Okay.
They're really good like friends still.
You still play with the dog and stuff like that?
Every now and then, yeah.
Okay. So, you hear Kaylee upstairs, she's dancing, playing with the dog, normal kind of thing, probably.
Yeah.
And then she says, "There's someone here."
Yeah, when she goes, I can hear her go upstairs, and then I think she's in her room, and she says that someone's here, and I can tell she's scared, and she runs downstairs.
Where do you think she ran?
I don't know if she made it past the stairs,
Okay.
or if it was in the living room.
Okay.
I think when she says, I don't know if she ran past the stairs, I think she means the stairs to go all the way to the first floor. The thing is like here, I'd be asking, well, she was dancing. Was music playing? If music was playing, what song was she dancing to? What speaker was it coming from? Was it coming from her phone? Was it coming from that little blue speaker or another speaker? Was anybody in there with her? Because why would Kaylee announce, okay, well, I guess I'll go to bed now, when nobody's in there with her? Things like that. Like, I need those kind of details. And just like Officially Bubbly said, you ask minute from start to finish. And then you ask it somewhat backwards, but then you start jumping around. Like, okay, so when Kaylee was dancing, what song was on? And then, oh, okay, so you said, Maddie lost the dog or whatever. Things like that. You kind of jump around to see. That's how you catch people in lies, because it's not that easy you can remember the story from start to finish, but to jump around, it's hard to keep the facts straight or the lies straight, basically. That's what I would have liked to see. And I would have liked to see way more detailed questions asked. I mean, I feel like he skips over just basic 101 questions.
But you heard her. He heard her on the stairs.
Yeah, I heard her running like super fast down the stairs.
Okay.
And then I didn't open the door. I just called her name, and then I called Xana, Kaylee, and Logan on my phone. And then
What were those other names?
Xana, Maddie, we call Logan as Maddie, and Kaylee.
Hi, Steven.
Okay. So do you know what Xana's last name is?
Kernodle. Kern.
I agree 100% with you, Pokey. Pokey says, I don't believe Kaylee was dancing with Murphy. I think she heard the tussling and is reflecting on the TT of Murphy, the TikTok of Murphy and Kaylee, like paw dancing. I agree. I don't think they were dancing at all. I think that she was hearing something else going on, like tussling, fighting, whatever it was, but I don't think it was dancing.
Odle, I believe.
Okay. And what about Maddie?
Mogen, Mogen.
And Kaylee
Goncalves.
Goncalves. That's the same one. Okay.
Yeah.
Were these three friends?
Yeah, we're all roommates.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark, I think he ends up getting to that point, but the sad thing is he doesn't even catch that, where it's like 1 minute, I know everybody's asleep. Well, no, you don't. How would you know that? Unless you went to every room and checked to see if everybody was asleep. But then remember, Kaylee was dancing. And then she ends up saying something about Xana and Ethan being there too, but never said what time they got home or how she knew they were there. Did she hear them? There's a lot of things that don't add up in her story at all, which we know that, but it's like, it's so blatantly obvious that a detective should know that and should have caught that and should know what questions to ask. I mean, look how fidgety and nervous she is. I get that something happened, but if you're telling the truth, there's no reason to be that fidgety and nervous.
Who was sharing the room with Kaylee?
Kaylee and Logan are both upstairs. They don't share rooms.
They have their own rooms?
Yeah, we all have our own rooms.
Okay.
The leading for me
So these
is
two are up on the third.
Yeah.
beyond irritating. The is driving me absolutely nuts. And right there with him leading, it shows you she's not being looked at as a suspect. Every word that's coming out of her mouth, he believes it as complete fact. I mean, he asks, oh, anything else? And she's like, no. I would be in there like, hold on, let me think, because just a couple weeks ago, there was this guy that rolled his eyes at me in the club and looked at Maddie funny. And then 2 weeks ago, there was this guy that we heard, walking through by our cars and looked in the window. And then there's this guy that I think doesn't like Kaylee because she's outgoing. And then I would be like naming off and I would have been thinking about it this whole time. Like, let me give them something. No, she's just like, no, we're done. Okay, bye. Drives me nuts.
Where's Xana?
It's my floor.
Your floor.
She's closest to the bathroom on my floor.
Bathroom. Okay. So Jen and Katie aren't an issue.
No, they're not at all.
What about for Xana?
And translucent doll, it's not so much giving Dylan a break. It's more so I'm not being aggressive towards Dylan herself. I'm being aggressive towards the person asking the questions, Maury. He should know the job better than this. He should know to ask detail after detail and then dig and dig and dig. So it's more so against Maury rather than Dylan herself. I mean, I personally would be trying to think of any little thing to give them when the interview's over or with the questions. But at the end of the day, the issue here is Maury.
Or Maddie? Are there any guys that are an issue? Any girls that are an issue?
No, Maddie has a boyfriend in Boise, super nice.
Okay.
Xana is dating Ethan, who was in the room with her. They're really nice too.
Okay. I apologize. I don't know anybody's name or anything like that.
That's fine.
So was Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee all upstairs still? Are those the ones that got hurt?
Those are the ones that got hurt.
Okay.
And then the other girl that's here, she's on the first floor.
Okay. And was she the one in the yellow hoodie?
Yeah.
Okay. So she's over there. So anybody that would want to hurt Ethan or that's jealous of Ethan?
No.
Nothing like that.
No, I've never heard anything.
Any cars that were in the area that you can think of that wouldn't have been normal?
No, I wasn't really looking at that.
Okay.
I do think that was a good question. Any cars? I don't know if I would have thought to ask that, but that's a good question for him to ask. And I think he has like a total of 2 or 3 good questions that he asks. Other than that, he's
And you didn't see anybody come downstairs. Did you hear anything
No,
else?
I don't even know how they got in. We're usually pretty good about locking doors, and we've never had problems before. Like, it was just really random.
Okay. So you're getting home around 12:31.
Yeah.
You've got Maddie that comes home just shortly after.
Yeah.
Maddie comes home shortly after that. And then from that point, from about 2 to 4, did you fall asleep?
Yes, I fell asleep.
Okay.
And Kaylee also came in with Maddie at the same time from the club.
to me, that's a little leading. So what happened from 2 to 4? You were sleeping? Okay, yeah, you were sleeping. Like, I need to know, like, about what time do you think you actually fell all the way asleep? And then about what time do you think you woke up? Because we know it wasn't 2 to 4. It wasn't completely from, right at 2, right at 4. Obviously, we're not going to get down to the minute or second, but we can get close enough if he asks and asks and asks every which way that he has to ask, because we know at 3:51, which I get is close to 4, but at 3:51, you're awake and aware enough to be saving a contact. So what was going through your head? What were you doing to where you were saving a contact at 3:51, which means you were awake before that and doing something before that.
So between that time, obviously, you're not hearing anything. You had something to drink, so obviously you're going to sleep a little bit deeper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
pumpkin. I'd like to see that too.
And then you hear her, she says what she says, you hear her hitting the stairs, you open the door, cry out to her,
Yes.
and then you close the door because you're scared,
Yes.
right? What happens at that point?
I opened the door again, and I heard what I thought was Kaylee crying in the bathroom, and I heard this man's voice say, "It's okay, I'm gonna help you," but it wasn't like in a nice way. Like, it was just weird, and it was a voice I've never heard before.
Okay.
And then I called out to her, and there was no crying after that. I don't really know what happened after that.
So when you opened the door, you thought you heard Kaylee crying in the bathroom?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it could have been Dana, but I thought it was Kaylee at the time.
Okay.
Okay, so if you guys remember from the very beginning, she supposedly, and this was after 4:20 something, 4:20-ish, she yells out for everybody, remember? And before that, she's yelling out of her door for people to be quiet or to shut up. And then she starts calling their phone after 4:20 something, and it ends up, her last call is like 4:27 or something like that. And all of that happened while the perpetrator was in there, because she said she didn't know how the perpetrator didn't hear her calling out for them in the house or calling their phones, because they must have all been ringing. So Dylan is literally calling out for her roommates, as she says, and not one of them answers. And this is 4:20-ish. So not one of them answers. Not Xana either, not Ethan either. So I'm assuming at that point, all of them are deceased by 4:20-ish. But keep in mind, the perp would still be in the house at that point.
Wait, you gave yourself a flu vaccine?
At your house?
How?
I don't know if these questions are really helping, because I'm just right over the top of them. And you said you don't recognize the voice.
No. And then I opened the door again, and the guy is right there. And He's maybe my height, a few inches taller, not like skinny, athletic built. He has all black. He's wearing some masks
Exactly.
that covers just his forehead and here, and it goes like around. He was white. He saw me and I saw him, and he just left. And he was holding. It looked like it was this, and this was black, and I didn't think that it was a gun, but now I'm thinking that it probably was. But I was just in and out of it because I was so tired.
You say this.
Like it was cylinder like this, and then it went straight out and then in. So I don't. Maybe.
Almost like a arrow, or?
Yeah, kind of. But
Okay.
it was weird. I couldn't really.
Do any of you have any idea what she's talking about? As far as the only thing I can think of that would look like that is a bow and arrow, which I don't think they had really. But two, I think that there are certain guns that look like that or pew-pews that look like that, but I don't think that type of pew-pew you would bring to this crime scene with your 7-inch K-bar, and you only use the K-bar when you realize there's so many people in this house. But then again, that's when I go back to, I do think a pew-pew was used because of what we see in the crime scene, right? The lack of blood and what is left behind of the red fluid looks more like a crime scene rather than large arterial sprays and pouring out and things like that, especially on Kaylee's pillow. So I'm wondering if it was used. And then we know the whole part of Kaylee's face and how that got, messed up. And I've always thought that that was the butt of a pew-pew. Maybe it was that kind of like a rifle or a AR type pew-pew that is shaped like that. Other than that, I can't think of what the heck she would even be referring to, because she says it's like a mini vacuum, which just throws me off then.
I call it like a mini vacuum. I don't really know what it was.
Okay. You say you're about your height. How tall are you?
I'm 5'10", so he's probably around 6 foot.
So he's going to be average height.
Yeah.
But remember, just a couple hours ago when she was standing outside, the first thing she said was he was either a little bit taller or a little bit shorter. And then after the cop directed her or led her to say, basically, so he was about 6 foot. Then after that, she never said possibly shorter than her ever again. It was, the guy was always taller.
Any of the girls at all in the house get any kind of freak weirdness going on the last couple of weeks that they talked about?
It's been all normal. Nothing weird at all.
No weird calls, no texts?
No, I mean, nothing really weird happens in Moscow usually.
Right?
Nothing happens in Moscow usually. Mark makes a good point. So Mark said if he had a pew-pew, it would have been used on her as soon as they locked eyes. She's involved, clearly. Because if you remember when Lana had a guest on her channel, and it was, now I can't think of his name. I can't think of his name, but it was the crime scene guy. And he said, well, I think the reason that he didn't do anything to Dylan is because he had already changed clothes before walking out of the house. So when he turned around and locked eyes with Dylan, he couldn't go after her because he would have gotten his change of clothes with red fluid on it again. And then he would have been screwed getting into his car. I don't buy that, because obviously I think, in my opinion, that he did have a pew-pew. And you don't need to get up close and personal to get any red fluid on you when using a pew-pew across the room on somebody else. So he very easily could have done her in as well with a pew-pew. So the whole not getting his clothes bloody, I can't go for that. Yeah, and so it makes me wonder, was that a pew-pew? I do think a pew-pew was there, but is that what he was carrying in that moment to walk out the door?
Okay, so, and I apologize, I keep backing up just a little bit, just because everything's going to be jumbled up with you, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
So you hear her dancing.
Mhm.
You hear her say somebody's here. She goes, it sounds like she goes to the stairs. You open the door, call to her, close the door, and then you go to.
So Lucas Boyd makes a really good point, actually. Says the thing that Dylan described could be a folding pruning saw, like for trail hikes and tree pruning. So, when you're hiking and there's a thick branch in front of you, you can just cut it down so you can get through on the trail. And says it's easy to get in a lot of stores and maybe for chopping bones. However, I don't know if that's what it could be, but the point that you make is very good, that it could have been anything like that because the plan could have been something completely different and brought different weapons to the scene. My personal opinion is that it was more than one person, right? So they could have brought different items, different weapons to the scene, thinking that they had a plan and it was going to go a certain way, but obviously it didn't. And they probably had way more people than they expected and didn't get to use what they wanted to use. It could be a whole situation like that too, which I don't think many people have thought of. So that's a really, really good point. It could have been some crazy weapon that we're not thinking of that they were going to use, but never got a chance to use it because the plan went haywire with all these people in the house.
Open the door because you and hear her crying,
Yeah.
or at least somebody might
Yeah.
not have been her. And then did you close the door and then reopen it before you saw him?
Yeah, I
Okay.
closed it before I opened it. So
From the time that you heard her say there's somebody here to the time that you saw him, how much time do you think?
I don't know. I think it was like around 10, 20 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, I was
Not
really
long.
out of it. Everything was kind of blurry. Like, I don't fully remember it, I would say.
Some moms want to build income from home. They just don't want to post, pitch, or be online all the time. And that's
Okay. So help me figure out where, like I said, I haven't been into the building. Where would if this is a basic layout of it, where would your apartment be?
Okay, so
Or your room, I should say.
I guess, like, say the doors right.
Christy's foil is tin makes a really good point. Dylan didn't mention seeing any red fluid on the perp. Now, if the perp was head to toe in black, it would be kind of hard to see. Although, they had a weapon and it didn't have the sheath with it. Although now I'm not even sure that's part of this whole thing. So wearing black, you wouldn't necessarily see that, but it would be on their face, on their skin, especially if they had on that balaclava that came like this around their face. They would have it on their face. Who knows if at that point they still had gloves on but it would be like tracking and dripping and everything all around that house if the weapon was actually a sharp force knife. Now, Dylan doesn't mention red fluid at all. Nowhere at all. That's what I find interesting because in my mind, that's absolutely impossible. She doesn't mention it at all. And to me, that might even be like distancing behavior as far as we know that there was a red, bloody shoe print in the threshold of her very own bedroom door. So who cleaned that up? And is that why she's distancing herself? Because she did see it. She did clean it up or helped clean it up or helped with some part of it to not get in trouble. And that's why she's not mentioning any red fluid at all. Because even let's say she didn't see any. At this point, if that was me, I would be like, how did 4 people get stabbed that many times in my home while I was there and I didn't see one drop of blood? Isn't that strange? That's what I would be thinking. But she's not, and she doesn't mention seeing any red fluid or not seeing any red fluid either way, which I think is weird.
Right here,
This is the apartment or that whole?
it's like a house.
Okay.
It's a whole house. Then there's stairs that go up diagonally like this.
Okay.
Living room.
Uh-huh.
You're looking at the living room. To the right is the bathroom and Xana's room. right in front of you is my room and the stairs.
On the second floor, right?
Yes.
So you've got the stairs that are here on the
Yes.
second floor. You've got the bathroom here.
Bathroom and Santa's room around here.
Okay.
I agree,
My
Mark.
rooms that are like right in front of it.
Okay.
And there's a kitchen.
So this is the kitchen.
Then there's stairs that go up to the second floor.
Okay. So that's up.
And then Katie's room is on, going up the stairs. Katie's room is on the left.
Up top, right?
Yes, up top. And Maddie's room is on the right. And there's also a bathroom next to Maddie's room.
So your door faces the stairs going down to the bottom?
It faces more, like you can see them when you look up, but it's not totally facing. It's more like facing like this.
Okay. So your door's more over on this side?
Yeah.
That's a really good point, Fred, that she wouldn't mention it because it would be denigrating her own cleaning effort. Then she would maybe accidentally say something about it or get nervous or make it obvious if he started asking her questions about it then. And that's what I think too. I think that she was avoiding the topic of any red fluid at all whatsoever. Didn't want to speak on it at all. And I think that's strange that he didn't even ask, because if he hadn't been to the crime scene and you hear 4 people were unalived by sharp force and had so many wounds, and I'm sure somebody described the scene to him and what they looked like, and he didn't even bring it up, like any red fluid at all either. I think that's weird. But we all know he's got a narrative to follow. So.
And then I could see like the window door that slides open back there.
So you opened your door. Where was he at?
In between my door and the kitchen.
Okay.
I think. And I saw him go out the door, I believe.
Out the kitchen door?
Yeah, and I just remember saying like, no, and I shut the door and locked it as fast as I could.
Okay. So is there a deck out back?
It's like just cement and there's like no fence, so I guess anyone could come in on there.
So is the bottom floor kind of like a daylight basement? So you can come in that floor and then you get out the back up one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So 5'10", all black. Could you see what color his eyebrows were or anything like that?
No, I don't remember what his eyes look like either.
Okay. He didn't say anything to you?
I mean, I saw his eyes and he saw me, but he didn't walk towards me and didn't see anything.
Okay.
Which I found was really weird.
What'd she just
One?
say?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So 5'10", all black. Could you see what color his eyebrows were or anything like that?
No, I don't remember what his eyes look like either.
Okay.
So obviously she didn't say anything about bushy eyebrows. And then if you caught that, the very first thing out in the parking lot she said was that he could have been taller or shorter than her. Then the cop that she was talking to in the parking lot said about 6 foot. And she said, yes, agreed with him. And then after that, it was only 6 foot or taller than her after that. Now this guy just says 5'10" and she agrees with him. It's like, I don't really know. I don't know if she's trying to follow their narrative and has maybe been coached a little bit or something, just follow this narrative. I'll lead you, just follow me and say yes at the things I ask you. I don't know, because you just said 6 foot, not 10 sentences before this, and now it's 5'10". I don't know.
He didn't say anything to you?
I mean, I saw his eyes and he saw me, but he didn't walk towards me and didn't see anything.
Okay.
Which I found was really weird.
But didn't recognize eyes. Definitely a white guy.
Yeah, definitely a white guy.
If you or a loved one were sexually abused at these Illinois youth facilities or treatment centers.
I just want us to picture Brian Koberger's eyes. And I don't know if it's because of the thyroid issue or the medicine he takes, but he does have very wide eyes, or almost just striking a little bit like when they focus on something, they're like extra focused, right? And I'm not saying it in a good or bad way, either way, but I feel like could you picture him? Let's say it was him, and it's him in that moment, and he turns around and he looks at her with the way his eyes are, the way they say he overly stares at stuff because of maybe autism or things like that. I feel like if it was him, that would be something she would definitely notice, and she would definitely point that out. And that's something that I struggle with, because I figured if it was him, that's something she would say. She would notice that.
Okay. Any smells, anything like that would be weird?
Mm-mm.
After he left, what happened?
I called me and it was like I heard a sound like a firework, and I didn't like put two and two together. And so I told her, like, I called everyone, they're not answering, and I'm in and out of it. I don't think anything of it. I just think everyone's asleep, and I go to her room, we lock the door, and just go to bed.
Okay.
And then this morning, it's like 11 or 12, and we're calling everyone, and no one's waking up, and we had like a really bad feeling. So I called Daniel's room, and he said he needed to call the cops right now.
Okay.
He wouldn't let us see what happened because he didn't want us to see.
Totally.
Yeah.
Your house, co-ed?
Just
Or
girls.
just girls? Okay. And, right?
So Xana is on the same floor as me, first floor. Mogan and Kaylee are the third floor.
Okay. That's what I'm messing up. Okay. Didn't hear a car start up, nothing like that after the fact?
No.
James says, you look an intruder in the eyes and go to bed. She's full of crap. She played a major role in this mess. I do think she played some sort of role in this mess. I definitely think it was some sort of cleanup. If she wasn't directly involved as far as like prior to the crime, having eyes and letting somebody know when people are home, if she didn't have involvement in that, then she definitely, I believe, my opinion, allegedly had involvement with cleaning up the scene. And I believe when I say cleaning up the scene, I mean like maybe getting rid of some of those footprints or some of the red fluid in the other parts of the house, not necessarily the bedrooms, but the other parts of the house, getting rid of that. Somebody obviously closed the front door because it was open from 8 in the morning until 11 in the morning. And then when Hunter came over, he had to use the code to get in. So they were obviously up. I definitely think that both Bethany and Dylan went upstairs. If they didn't already know what happened, they looked. They went in those rooms and they looked. They knew what happened. That's the only reason they called 911 before Hunter told them to call 911, or else why are you calling 911 if you don't know what happened, right? So, yeah, I definitely think she has involvement in it. The extent of her involvement, I'm just not really sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I go back and forth on a couple different topics of hers. And I think sometimes she sounds way more guilty than other times. Other times I think she doesn't sound guilty, but I know that there's something there she's not telling us.
And then no one, has anybody seen anything on any social media posts?
No.
Anybody talking about anything?
No.
Okay. Okay.
See right there where he's like, anybody posting anything, anybody talking about anything, stop it. These parents knew before the cops even told them, because everybody was talking about it. You know, you've heard, I bet it was this person. I bet it was that person. Oh, this person hated that person. Just like Xana's mom said, oh, such and such hated Xana. Stop it. You know, you've heard stuff like that. So for her to say no and just not help at all is a little bit telling to me. And I think it's telling to me because it will implicate her in a way. She feels she's going to get in trouble. And that's why she's just like, nope, I know nothing. Nope, to everything.
At the same party, anything weird, strange, not normal?
That's a good point, Hot Pie. Hot Pie says there's more reason to suspect Hunter than Brian Koberger, and that's a really good point. Not that I necessarily suspect Hunter, other than maybe him helping clean up a little bit, but the way he looked and acted and his body language and him sitting in there laughing during the questioning. I don't even want to call it questioning. It's not an interrogation. It's not a questioning. It's not even an interview. It's just like, here, we'll tell you what to say. Just go along with it, basically. Anyways, Hunter looks more guilty than Brian Koberger does. And that's a really good point.
Anybody get angry with anybody? Anybody?
No, it was just normal. Like everyone seemed fine. Xana and Ethan were with me.
Hunter Johnson.
And it was totally normal.
Okay.
Like there was nothing weird or out of place or suspicious.
Nobody hooked up that might have a boyfriend that wouldn't be pissed off at him or something?
No.
Okay. All right. Anything else you can think of that I should know?
All that I really know was me saying that there was like a lot of boom, but I didn't hear it.
Okay.
And I don't really know how I did it because I was on that floor.
Because you were just right below it, right?
Below me, and Xana and me on the same floor. So like Xana and me the same floor. And
Oh, I
then
get you.
down here. And
So Santa's in between the bathroom and the kitchen?
yes, pretty much. There's like a wall and there's kitchen, Xana's room, bathroom.
Okay. Anybody else on your floor?
So I see people saying like, give her a break and things like that. And I get where you're coming from. I totally do. Because a lot of people say, if you haven't been in her shoes, you don't know what it's like. I have found my roommate deceased, excuse me, when I was her age. Although it wasn't the same circumstances. It wasn't a 4-person horrific red room and red fluid everywhere. It was still a similar where you find somebody you care about that's in your home, deceased, and it's up to you to do step after step after step after that, and then figure out what the heck you're going to do with where you live, you know, that whole situation. And I can honestly say the way I did it, I felt like I did what most people would do, and I don't feel like she's being very helpful. And that's kind of where my issue comes in, is because I have been through that in a sense, not as horrific, but in a sense. So you can make the right decisions and do the right things and not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like she's afraid of implicating herself, and that's why she holds back. Because I didn't have any reason to hold back because I didn't do anything wrong. And that's why I didn't have a problem holding back or saying everything that I knew. You know what I mean? I get what you're saying, though. I get to give her a break. I get all of that. I get she went through something. And I think part of the problem is that she's just not very smart. I just don't think she's naturally a very intelligent person. And I don't mean that to be mean at all. I just don't think that she has maybe had a bunch of life experience to be worldly or have, I don't know, even good vocabulary. Or, I mean, for crying out loud, she said a little bit higher or lower instead of taller or shorter. Like, I just don't think she's that smart. So I don't think she gets that every minute matters. I don't think she understands that.
No.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can.
And then downstairs on the first.
Yes.
And then up on the third was, I just moved them.
Kaylee and Maddie.
Kaylee and Maddie. Those are both on the third.
Yeah.
Similar layout where one bedroom over the other.
Yeah, so Kaylee's room was here, bathroom in the corner, and then Logan's room.
Okay.
So writing down the rabbit hole says, if I was in her shoes, I would not wait 8 hours to call the police. And here's the thing with the situation that I had. I realized something was wrong because the dog was acting weird. Dog wasn't barking or anything, but the dog was going up and down the stairs, which was something he didn't normally do. And it was midnight. I was asleep, and the dog going up and down the stairs woke me up, and I was like, something's not right, because that's not how the dog acts. So in her shoes, if it's 4 a.m. and the dog is barking in a way he doesn't normally bark, you go check it out, right? You don't I went and checked it out, and that's how I found my roommate, my friend, deceased. So I couldn't imagine waiting 8 hours either to call for help or to even check it out. I don't understand it.
So Morgan would be over Xana's room?
Yes.
Ish?
I think so.
Okay.
And I guess Kay would be above my room, I'm thinking.
So Xana is on your floor, but she was upstairs with Kaylee and Logan.
No, she was in her room.
She was in her room.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Ethan was in
Her room.
Xana's room as well.
Okay.
And I think that's the whole point, right, Fizzy? Fizzy says she was scared enough to lock her door. She was scared enough to say, no, 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 when you saw him close to you, and lock your door again. Then you were scared enough to call your roommate. Then you were scared enough to run down to your roommate's bedroom, but you didn't call 911. You were scared enough when you saw a masked man in your home, and your roommate that you heard crying stopped crying. And when you called out for all of your other roommates, nobody answered you. And then you called their phones and nobody answered you. Murphy's barking. You hear him. It sounds like he's ran away. You didn't go look for him. You didn't call. You didn't ask Kaylee. You didn't go find Kaylee and say, where's Murphy? Do you need help finding it? Nothing. So that's what I have a problem with. It's the lack of being even a decent person or friend.
So I had 2 of them there, then 2 and 1/3.
Yeah.
Got it.
Hi, Wiki.
Okay. I will give you this just in case you think of anything else, which is totally normal.
Okay.
To just have things fly in from out of nowhere.
Well, and if you guys notice in this interview, she didn't say anything about seeing Xana's body. I haven't heard out of her mouth yet her saying that when she ran downstairs, she saw Xana. I haven't heard it yet. I haven't heard bushy eyebrows. I haven't heard clad in black. And that's at the very, very, very beginning. That's the problem I had, is when they said she saw a figure clad in black. I was like, no 20-year-old female talks like that. No, she did not say that. There's something wrong already with that. Somebody put words in her mouth. Somebody is leading her on to say something. No 20-year-old female is going to say, he was a figure clad in black. No, ma'am, that's not. I don't think she saw Xana either at the time she said she saw Xana, like when she ran downstairs. But I think she saw Xana. I think she saw Xana. I think at some point they were like, I think her and Bethany were together. I think at some point they were like, okay, they're not even up yet. Something's wrong. We have to go see what's wrong. We have to go look. And then they did. And they actually saw what happened. I don't know if they thought it was a prank. I don't know. I think after they went and saw what actually happened, then I thought they thought they were going to get in trouble. So they did like a little bit of cleanup, and then didn't know what to do anymore. And after that is everything we know after that. But I do think at some point she saw all of the bodies. I do truly believe that, because she wouldn't have been able to see Xana when she ran down the stairs at 4:30 when Bethany told her to come down there, because the door was partly shut.
Or you'll see a box of French fries and think of something.
Yeah.
Who knows what'll trigger it.
Okay.
Obviously, you guys have some resources on campus, like the CTC, right?
Yeah.
Take totally full advantage of that.
Okay.
All right. This is not a normal thing. This is not something that you can just power through usually on your own.
She does. Writing Down the Rabbit Hole says she just stated that Ethan was in Xana's room. How would she know that if she didn't go in there? Exactly. At some point, she knew Xana and Ethan came home. but we don't know how she knew that. We don't know what time it was. We don't know how she knew Ethan was there. We don't know anything. They don't ask her anything about that, but she does say something about Ethan being in Xana's room and Xana and Ethan being there, that she knew they were there before all of this happened. But how did she know that? When did they, where did they come from? When did they come in? They don't ask her those questions, and she never, ever, not once gives it up and says, I think Xana and Ethan came home around 3:45. Nothing like that. But you're exactly right. She knew Ethan was in there. The only way she would know he was in there was if she saw.
Yeah.
So definitely take the help. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us, obviously. I don't know who's going to be the actual lead investigator, but obviously if you call and say, my name is so-and-so, I talked to, Detective Maury, and they'll patch you through whoever we need to.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. I thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Okay.
Okay. If you do get any weird text messages, calls, you think that somebody is behind you, following you, just do whatever you need to do to make yourself safe.
Okay.
Okay. Don't think that you're going crazy. Don't do anything like that. There's no reason to take chances.
Okay.
Okay.
Isn't that the strangest comment? Lucas says, why would French fries make her think of something? Is he somehow referring to the Jack in the Box order? When I've only listened to this once, I listened to it this morning. And when he said that, I was like, of all the things to say, he says, if you see a French fry box and it makes you think of something, but then he hasn't been to the scene. So how would he know that there's a whole close-up picture of French fries from Jack in the Box, that there's a whole DoorDash order that hasn't even really been discovered at this point yet? Like, what an odd thing to say. And that's when I think, oh, okay, there's a narrative here. He knows exactly what to say and what not to say and what to follow. Because why would he say that? Like, of all the things, if you see a French fry box and you think of something, let us know. What? How strange. So that is basically it for that. And then I think they just do the second one.
Did you ever find the back slider open or anything? Does that usually locked? What's the condition?
Yeah, and we've already seen this. So I just am really, really perturbed by the leading of Maury and the fact that he hasn't even been to the scene yet. So really, what information are you going to get from her? Because if you haven't seen the scene, you're really just going off of what somebody else told you and what you think to ask as like basic skimming the surface questions. That's not going to do anything. Like, at this point, it's fresh in her mind. You need to be asking her literally second to second, minute to minute, and then go back over it and then do it backwards and then start from the middle and then flip flop and then ask, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. I bet if they had done that, we would have gotten something completely different out of her. I bet you anything, she would have slipped up on something and started crying. That's what I think. She has changed her story a lot, and it's not like super big things like I came home at 10 o'clock and then the next story was I came home at 2:30. It wasn't like long hours of missed time or like really big things, but they're noticeable enough to where somebody literally told them to keep their story straight or write down their answers so they remember their story. I don't know if they meant it like that or in a bad way or whatever, but you would think, okay, just if you're trying to hide something, at least remember what the heck you said. I know that people will remember things that happened, but not change what happened like later. Oh, yeah. Psycho Stench says these cops are used to having to cover stuff up for the university all the time. Absolutely. I mean, they knew what it was from the beginning. They knew that it couldn't be somebody from the university. They knew it couldn't be in Idaho on Idaho. And from the very beginning, they used the terminology, the verbiage of the perpetrator, one person. It had to be one weirdo, not from there. I mean, I want to see. So we all know now that Maddie Mogen's mom has won the case as far as pictures or anything being put out regarding Maddie or her room. So we won't see anything like that. However, they're going to use that to say, oh, well, we can't show you the knife sheath at all. Well, no, you still can. And we want to see it because we don't believe you. But also, they're using that because they can't show us the knife sheath in Maddie's room at all. So for the rest of our lives, we will never know, unless there's a leak, if that knife sheath was actually found in Maddie's room and where it was found and how it was found and the exact location of it. Was it under the blanket? Was it in the blanket? Was it next to Maddie's left side or right side? We'll never know. Never. And that's how they did that. I feel like that was so purposeful because that is literally the one thing that ties Brian Koberger to the scene. Other than that, they've pretty much got nothing. Yes, you can say the white car, but at the end of the day, we don't know if it's a white car. We don't know if it's his car. And nobody can really say that definitively. But when you've got something with DNA on it, that's the only thing that ties him definitively to that crime. And that's the only thing now that they'll never have to prove because Maddie's mom won that case. So really think about that and how damning that is to the public and how great that is for them to keep that hidden. So technically for the knife sheath, we'll never get an answer ever. And that's the only thing. That's the only thing that ties Brian Koberger to that scene. That's been my thought from the beginning when I heard that. USA Kiwi says, is that why Thompson purchased a K-bar and sheath from Amazon to try to use it in place of the sheath? And that's been my thought because I have never, ever heard of another case where an officer goes out and purchases the exact same weapon from Amazon. That's just so strange to me. And then if you think about it, they also tested their own car in the dark, taking that loop. How do we know that the sheath isn't the sheath that they bought on Amazon themselves? And how do we know that that car video isn't just them testing their own undercover car and putting it on the film, editing it right in to make it look like it's Brian Koberger's car? It's so simple. And those are the only two things that tie him. And to me, the car really doesn't tie him. Unless we had an actual license plate to see. Other than that, the car doesn't really do much for me, honestly. But the DNA, obviously, that's the big contention in this case. And at this point, we'll never, ever, ever know. And they did that on purpose. Because I also thought it was strange. Maddie's mom, who hasn't said really much of anything throughout this entire case, has now filed this thing about I feel like somebody told her to do that. Somebody talked her into doing that because that's the only way that they would never have to give us information and show us the sheath where it was found. Why? Because maybe they didn't actually find a sheath. Who knows? Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know at this point in the interview why he would even lead her to say, so from 2 to 4, you were sleeping? Like, no, I need to know everything you were doing. Exactly what time do you think you fell asleep? What were you doing before you fell asleep? Like, were you just sitting on your bed twiddling your thumbs in the dark? Like, she literally gave like little details, but when it got from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning, she backed off. She didn't want to give like in-depth detail. She really didn't want to say anything about the hours from 2 to pretty much 4:30, 5 o'clock at all. Because remember, beginning of the night, I went here, I went to this party, I ran into this friend came over, we watched this show, and then after that, after Maddie and Kaylee get home, not one detail is mentioned after that. Kaylee was dancing with her dog. Did you see that? Was there music? Like, there's no actual details. And when somebody's lying, they can't give details like that because they just have the one broad lie rather than detailed truth, right? Right, Fizzy? If you want to slack on your job, just move to Moscow and be a cop. How easy. Goodness. And also, I had been asking the question, was Ethan wearing any clothes? And come to find out, no, he only had socks and a necklace on. So my thing is, it came out at one point, not that long ago, that Ethan's legs were carved. Remember? That went on for about 2 weeks. And then after that 2 weeks was over, nobody mentioned that again. Nobody was talking about Ethan's legs being carved. And then in the autopsy thing, kind of, the little bit of information we get in the report, it just says that there's like a puncture wound by his right knee, and that's it. There's no mention of carvings or anything on his legs. So where did that come from? I think that came from mainstream media or something. It's just wild. It's the time in between that's wild, but it's the fact that Dylan was freaking awake. She was awake. So how come you can't tell us what time Xana and Ethan got there? And you can't tell us anything about anybody else other than Kaylee going up the stairs and what she thinks is back down the stairs. But that doesn't even make sense then, because then she says Murphy got out the slider, but you just said he was upstairs. So did you hear him bark and come back down? Why, if Kaylee came down, how did she end up back upstairs? And then we think it's Xana. Well, you said you yelled out for your roommates. At that point, you're saying one of them is at least alive, if not two, but nobody's answering you. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, I don't think we'll get anything on the autopsy. I have asked for broad stuff on the autopsy. I've asked for detailed stuff. I mean, you guys have no idea how many FOIAs I have submitted. Do you know how many I've got back? Zero. I've probably sent 100 FOIAs. I'm not even kidding. They didn't even give me like a price on anything. Like, we're giving you nothing. Stop asking. And I haven't even asked for stuff that's like crazy either. That's an interesting thought, James. James says, in my opinion, in the 8 hours, no one was able to call because Green wouldn't allow it until damage control was taken care of. Narrative set and cleaning, then he let them call 911. I mean, that makes sense. And the reason it makes sense is because if you think about it, people on campus knew what was going on at 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning. So I'm pretty sure when you have a son that goes to the school that's the president of, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're close to that school, not just because you are the president or whatever of the school, but you have children that go there as well. And you hear what's going on. You hear the rumors. So if kids knew all over campus, he knew too. It's strange that they just can't give a timeline for anything. It shouldn't be that difficult. USA Kiwi says, did you hear Xana may have had her right foot missing, as they listed a right and left hand bag and a left foot bag, but no right foot bag? So yeah, my thought was on that, it was strange that she had a bag on one foot and she's the only one who had a bag on a foot. And my thought was she kicking? Was she using a foot to kick in self-defense and it got wounds on it and that was why? Or maybe in kicking, they thought to bag her foot because she might have made contact with her foot on one of the perpetrators and they could get DNA from it. But as far as thinking that maybe it was off, like actually cut off, maybe she was fighting so hard that they got pissed and cut that thing off. Maybe. I mean, at this point, anything is possible. I really do feel that way. I don't understand how Maury can let this girl sit there knowing that it was sharp force trauma to all 4 victims, so they say, and she is describing a pew-pew, and he is not asking, hey, draw it out for me. Let me bring my laptop. Let's Google some stuff and show me exactly what it looked like. Draw it out for me. Anything. But nothing. He asked her for no details on the pew-pew. And then we see the crime scene and see, well, the red fluid looks like it came from possibly pew-pews rather than sharp force. And on the pillow, it looks like maybe a pew-pew shot rather than sharp force. I've seen some holes in the wall that look like pew-pews rather than any sort of somebody stabbing a wall. So the fact that he just skips right over the whole gun thing that she mentions, that is huge. He should have been on that. That's huge. But no, she mentions it and he literally skips right over. Like, what did it look like? Okay, thanks. Yeah, it's so strange. She even says herself, she says, because you can like hear everything in there. I heard Murphy go up the stairs because you can like hear everything in there. And I believe her. I think you can. Tattoo Gal says, in a small house, you hear whispering, but not screams of people getting slaughtered. Exactly. Exactly. USA Kiwi says, we saw Dylan's drawing of a ski mask. And what's interesting is there's 2, I think I talked about this actually on the last live. There's 2 different descriptions of a mask. And I don't know if she gave 2 different descriptions or if the officers wrote down 2 different descriptions, but we know that one of them wrote down the ski mask with the holes in the eyes. And the other one, I think Maury wrote down the balaclava. That's the mask that goes like this. If he was wearing the balaclava that goes like this, she would have absolutely seen Brian Koberger's eyebrows, eyes, nose. I mean, you would know if that's the person you saw. And I don't think that's who she saw. Yeah. So I mentioned that too, actually. You know, Birdie a long time ago mentioned this NIJ study where the government was giving money to the school in Pullman for studies for criminology and thought that maybe Brian Koberger was part of their study. And that's how all this came about. And that's how he became the patsy. And this was all just an operation type of thing. And I thought if that's true, because that could make sense if you really think deeply on it and dig into some of the details, it's like, okay, well, that does match and that does match. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying at this point, it's a possibility. But if it's true, and I thought maybe he had something on his license plate tags where, hey, if you get behind this guy, make contact, because he got pulled over twice before the crimes, either twice or 3 times before the crimes, and then twice after the crime. Like, that's a lot in like a 5-month period. It made me question, did he have something on his license plate that says, hey, make contact with this guy? And then every time they make contact with him, they get his DNA because he's holding their ticket, the pad of paper, the pen, the whatever. Yeah, and the reasons that he was pulled over was a little bit strange. Yeah, and then he had, what, 7 parking tickets on top of that? Like, what? Which could be them making the contact as well. Like, those 7 parking tickets. Was he parked illegally? Who knows? Probably, maybe, I don't know. But could it also be that's how many times they were running his plate, and that's how many times they had to make contact with him? Because when they would run his name or his plate or anything, it would come back as like a make contact. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just joking. It wouldn't do that, but that's interesting, Lucas. Lucas says, I've also heard that at some point in all of this, Ethan's private parts may have been mutilated. Wasn't the roommate moving in? Didn't they have a very jealous boyfriend? Was he questioned? Maybe a sicko did that? It's possible, because I don't know why I never thought of this, and I've asked it like 8 times in the past week, and then come to find out that, yeah, Ethan didn't have anything on. He was just wearing socks and I think a necklace. So who knows? Especially if he's fighting. And I tend to think that he did put up a little bit of a fight, or at least try to as much as he could. I think that Ethan was hit in the bed, and I think it woke him up, and he fell out of the bed and tried to stand up, but he's bleeding out. And as he's bleeding out, he's slipping in it, and he's trying to use the nightstand to pull himself up. And I think he does get up. Then I think he falls onto the bed and then gets whatever last wound he got. That's what I think. Now that we see what Brian Koberger was doing literally hours after the crime, so we know that he called at like 7 and talked to his mom, his parents, for like an hour. And then at some point, he probably had to get himself ready, take a shower. He got dressed up pretty decently, right? He went to Costco. He had to drive over there. Who knows? Maybe he had to put some gas in. Like, all of that would take time. So when we see him on camera walking into a Costco, like it's a normal Sunday and nothing, he's acting like a normal person. Usually when you hear of cases like this, you hear that the person who did it, the next like couple of weeks or at least couple of days, they're doing whatever they can. They're pacing. They're trying to cover their tracks. Oh my God, I forgot about this. Now I've got to. He's not cleaning his car. He's not cleaning his house. He's not doing laundry. He's going to Costco in a nice outfit. Like, he doesn't look like he's super worried. He's not walking fast. He's not like, oh, I got to get in here and get cleaning supplies or garbage bags or nothing. Usually somebody who just unalive 4 people like that would be cleaning everything, pacing, freaking out. I got to cover my tracks. Oh my God, I lost the knife sheath. I got to go do this and do, like, there wasn't any of that. Yeah, Othram that whole thing is strange to me. That is very strange to me. With the team up with Ethan's mom now, after her not saying anything at all, like, everything is just about money. Everything's about money. Yeah, I wish they could, number one, tell us at least the order. Because I feel like we could get more information. If they would just tell us the order, I think we could get more information just from that alone. And I just want to see their clothes after the fact. I don't need to see their bodies. I want to see the knife sheath. But other than that, I want to see their clothes, or just give us a drawing of the way they were laying, the way they were found, and put a dot where each wound was. Something. You don't have to show us them in their worst moment ever. Like, you don't have to show us that, but you can give us a freaking drawing. And to be honest, if it had been Brian Koberger, I truly think that both Xana and Kaylee could have kicked his ass. He doesn't seem really very athletic or coordinated enough to be handling whatever weapon, whatever. I don't know. That's why it also makes me think that there's more than one person, because how is one person carrying a large item, whether it's a gun or not, a large item, a knife sheath, whatever else they had with them, changing clothes, and then they get in. If it was Brian Koberger, he gets in his car and doesn't leave not a speck of DNA under the door handle, on the mirror, on the gear shift, on a thread in the. Stop it. That's just not possible. I don't think any of them were asleep. I don't think any of them were asleep at all. Let's see. Steven says, I think Jack D didn't really have an alibi. Kaylee had extensive damage to her face, and Ethan may have had his parts removed, plus hamstrings cut and badly beaten. I think it's interesting that Kaylee did have different type of damage. And I go back and forth in my mind. Is it because she was fighting and it pissed the person off and they had to fight back? Or is it because she was their issue? Whatever issue they had, she was their issue. Xana obviously had way more wounds because she fought back way harder. But here's my thing, and this is why I think it was more than one person. Because if the person who did that to Kaylee used a different weapon, which I think is the butt of a pew-pew, and hit her in the face with it to knock her out, and then you've got Xana who's fighting even harder because Xana has 20-something more wounds than Kaylee does, but she doesn't have the pew-pew butt end to the face to knock her teeth out or mess up her face and knock her out. No. So why, if it was the same person, why would they do it to one and not the other one who's fighting even harder? It doesn't make sense. To me, that would be two different people at the same time. Thanks, Officially Bubbly. Be safe with your doggy. I think that there was a person on each floor, to be honest. Before, I thought there was a person on the third floor, the second floor, and the first floor all at the same time. But when Bethany made that comment that said it seemed like the spark came downstairs, that means she knew whatever was going on, wherever that spark came from, was on the second floor because she saw it. That's it. She knew it didn't come from downstairs. So that makes me think that there wasn't somebody on the first floor, and Bethany wasn't on the first floor either. And that's why I think she has exculpatory evidence. So I do think there was either one or two people on the third floor, one or two people on the second floor. That's what I think. And could you imagine being, if it was just one person, putting up that kind of fight with Kaylee or whoever came first? Xana might have came first. Kaylee might have came first. I don't know. But putting up that kind of fight with two, like, oh my gosh, that would be, because their adrenaline is going to start wearing down and they've got 4 people to do this to. Like, holy cow, that's a lot. Steven says maybe Ethan and Kaylee had an affair and Jack D and others found out about it. I do think that it may have something to do with, no, I'm not 100% on this. I don't even know if I'm 50% on this, but the thought crossed my mind. We known from several different interviews and several different people that Kaylee was seeing literally a handful of people. And that's fine. You're a college girl. Do your thing, whatever. It's your life, not mine. I'm not judging any of these people for what they did or didn't do. But that could be part of it. And that's the whole thing. That's why people talk about it. I'm so tired of seeing people like, you're victim blaming, you're talking shit about the victims. No, I'm not. I'm stating facts. I don't care. I don't judge them. I don't care what they were doing. It's not my life. It doesn't affect me. But she was seeing a handful of different guys, and that could very well piss off one of them, two of them. You hear all the time about people finding out that the person they're talking to is talking to another person, and those two people meet up to go confront the person. Why couldn't that have been something that happened here? And then maybe one or two of the other ones were just because they saw it and couldn't let them tell. I mean, were any of these people that Kaylee was talking to, were they even questioned? Do we even know that? Steven says, why didn't the judge make Bethany come forward for the defense when requested? Isn't that wild? You don't have a choice. You don't get a choice when it comes to court. You show up like you're not a toddler. And I feel that's how she acted. It's not about her. You show up to court and you do the best you can for your friends. But the fact you can't show up to court and you won't and you refuse and you throw a fit and you hire a lawyer the next day and you move out of state, you're just making yourself look bad. Grow up. It's time to grow up. Yeah. And Hunter calling Kaylee Kylie, I still think that's weird. How many times did Dylan tell the story sitting outside just that morning or just that afternoon? Like literally an hour or two before he was talked to, Dylan told the story over and over and over and said Kaylee's name probably 30 times. He heard it. He knew what her name was. Why distance yourself unless you did go upstairs and see her? And it could be more than that. I think he's distancing himself because he did go upstairs. He did see what she looked like, and she looked the worst out of all of them, and that's why he's distancing himself from her specifically. It could be more than that, but that's what I think at this time until I dig a little deeper and come up with something else. But I do John Shannon, I hear you. John Shannon says he's talking to somebody else, but he says he's that he doesn't think any of the four were killed inside. And I do know that there's a lot of people that do think that, especially with the noises we hear on the Linda Lane footage, the 112 footage. It's hard to ignore those. I know Birdie right now is doing this thing where he's, going back to the beginning and pretending like he doesn't know anything about it and going off of all the information. It's hard to pretend you don't know about it. But if I had to go back to the very beginning and pretend like I didn't know anything about it, I would think something happened outside at 1 a.m. because of all the things we hear. And it's easy to think that. I think Jack Showalter is very strange for the mere fact he kept calling into the police station late at night. Like, what are you doing? Are you by yourself at your parents' and all you're doing is thinking about this and you're drinking and then you're calling the police to talk to them at 11 o'clock at night? What an inappropriate time to call, right? Unless you're getting a voicemail, but he's not. He's getting the actual officers to talk to at midnight, at 11 o'clock at night, at 10:30 at night. Weird? I think that's a little weird. Like, you're sleepless and that's what you're thinking of. Why? And you also have red fluid in your apartment, smudges all over the place. He could be a night owl. He could be. And I mean, that's just the thing with all of this. It could be anything, right? It could be he's a night owl. It could be he's an alcoholic and he's up drinking every night. It could be a lot of different stuff. But I just personally find it weird. I don't think, unless I did something wrong and I couldn't get it off my mind, I probably wouldn't be up at 11 at night, but I'm also not really a night owl. So maybe he is a night owl. Who knows? I feel like there's arguments that could go both ways for every person in this case. And I think that's why this case is so interesting to people, because you can say, maybe Dylan really didn't know anything and she's just not an emotional person and she didn't do anything wrong and she's just not that smart and she doesn't know anything and that's it. I mean, it could go either way with every player in this case, I feel like, and that's why it's so interesting to dig into it and see what you can come up with to see who is telling the truth, who's not telling the truth, where things took place, what time, what this, when that, like, you know what I mean? I have a question. Does anybody know the names of the people who lived in the house prior? Wasn't it a bunch of guys? Yeah, we do know that Kaylee was into like true crime, and they said, a lot of people said that she looked up offenders and stuff in the area. Okay, so I have no idea where Bronxy is, but I'm going to take him to the park. Does anybody want to talk about either the David case or Charlie Kirk real quick before I hop off? Anybody? I'll give you my opinion real quick on the Charlie Kirk case. And I think that I'm probably going to make some people mad, so I apologize in advance. I'm just going to say that I find something, and I have from the very beginning, something is very off with Erica. I know there's a lot of people that are like, she's a widow. How dare you talk about her? I find that she seemed to weasel her way. She was trying to weasel her way into either being famous or rich people. She was trying to weasel her way from the time she was 18. She was in music videos. She was on an episode on Bravo TV of some single house thing. She was on, I don't know. I just think that she is manipulative. I think she's a weasel. I think she's snaky. I think there's more to her. Her parents were like opening businesses in her name, before she was even 18. I think her parents find little ways to get like government contracts for like stupid things, but it worked. And then they got her into doing it. And then they would try and put her in certain positions to meet certain people. And I think she just weaseled her way into, like, I think she knew before she even went to apply for a job for Charlie Kirk and he was going to interview her. I think she knew she either had a chance of getting the job or getting a date. And I think that was her goal. She knows what she's doing, and it's creepy and it's distasteful. And I don't know how she can sit in his chair and put on a podcast just a couple days later. I think the whole videoing herself laying over him in the casket is weird. I think it's all for attention. And then, and if anybody wants to call anybody a grifter, she is the number one grifter from the day she was born. Everything is about money and using every bit of everybody's emotions in this situation to donate to TPUSA. And now she's the CEO, and that was the goal the entire time for her. I don't know if she had him and that was the deal to have that happen to him and she was part of it or not, but I think she's basking in the fact that she only had to be with this guy that she didn't really even like that much for 4 years, and now look what she's got. And that was her goal. I don't think her goal from the beginning was to have somebody off. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I think she likes where her life is heading now that he's not here. Just go back and watch some of the videos where they kiss each other. Look at her face. Look at her lips. Like she barely even puckers. And listen, if he didn't have a bunch of money, she would not be interested in him. I think there's a lot more to her. And I think that a lot of digging needs to go on with her. And I didn't say anything about her from the very, very beginning because I figured I'd lose a lot of people and people would hate me for saying that because she's a widow. But that was my opinion from the very, very beginning. I find her very off, and I feel like everything she does is manipulation. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure she assumed, Psycho Stench says, I'm sure she assumed it would happen eventually. I called it 3 months before he got shot. I'm sure she knew at some point something would happen or something, or even the mere fact that, look, I can marry this man and I can stay home in my big old mansion and do whatever I want and have this rich man pay for everything I want. And I don't even have to deal with him because he's traveling all the time to all these places. And if I don't want to have anything to do with it, I don't have to, but I can reap the rewards of all the money he gets and all the donations he gets from all these countries. Like, for what? The whole company is a grift. The whole company is off of donations. The whole company is. Yeah. I mean, that's a good question, Carol. Some people think it really didn't even happen. You know, I've seen everything you guys have seen as far as, is it real? Is it not real? Did this happen? Was it the microphone? Was it not? Did it come from this angle? Did it come from that angle? Here's the thing. The kid that they say did it, and I don't even want to get into all of that, but was from the most obvious vantage point, and that wasn't checked. That wasn't protected. Stop it. That sounds so ridiculous. Then we get the text messages. It sounds ridiculous. I don't care if he says the word vehicle or not. The fact you can't put out a timestamp, there's a problem with that. How come we don't see any casings? They didn't show us one casing, not one. They can't show us the carved ones. Why? Why can't they show us just the casing? They showed us when the Las Vegas thing happened, they showed us the casings there, which was fake as crap because those casings should have burned the carpet and the hotel floors, and nobody mentioned that. Like, it's just a lot. No, I don't think Erica's cried at all. Listen, when she went on that stage with the pyrotechnics and the whole like circus for his funeral, her eyes weren't swollen when she got up on that stage. When my best friend's dad passed away, 3 days ago, the next day I woke up and my eyes were so swollen because I cried for like 2 hours. Like, she didn't even have that. Her eyes weren't swollen at all. I mean, I feel bad for the kids. I really do. I feel bad for the kids. They'll have an amazing life, I think. They'll have all the money that they need, but yeah, it's just hard for me when I feel like somebody isn't genuine, especially towards their husband. the fact that her kids won't have a father, like that's sad to me. And the fact that she's using it as a way to get more money. And she went on with business the very next day and started grifting and please donate, please donate. I have a problem with that, with not one swollen eye at all, laughing. And I don't know how. It's all about the money. I mean, before, and I don't know if Candace is telling the truth either, because obviously I wasn't there. So it's hard for me to know. Candace hasn't put out anything that has 100% proof either. So until she does, I'm just kind of waiting to see. But it's just, it's all about money. It's all about profit. It's all about status. It's all about, Erica was in music videos and stuff like that from the time she was really 18, 19, 20, whatever. So she was obviously trying to put herself in a position to be in the famous world. And that was her goal. And she got it by marrying somebody. So that's my opinion. And I'm sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings. It's okay to disagree with me. And it's okay for me to disagree with you. But yeah. I mean, I can definitely dig deeper into some of her business adventures and things like that because it's weird. Try and follow them. You should be able, if it's a charity, you should be able to see where the money's going, and you can't. So that's my problem. That's my problem with that. And the D4VD case, I think, is strange as well. And the only thing I want to say about that, because they're not really giving us anything on that at all. But the one where the little 14-year-old girl was found in his trunk, at first it was said she was dismembered, but now we're not sure because she was found with rings on her fingers and things like that. So obviously she has her hands and whatever. She was found with pants on, so she's got her legs. But the thing with that is, why has he not gotten in trouble at all for being in a relationship with a minor, or grooming a minor, or just even being with a minor? Why is nobody sticking up for her as far as in that close circle? And they should be able to have a time of death, because they should, even if the weather was super hot, they know what the weather was like. They can go off of that, and you can tell by the times and the weather and the bugs and the everything. Yeah, I heard head and torso too, but they said that she was found with rings on her fingers, which means she's got her fingers. So, and then either leggings or ripped jeans she had on. It's just so many rumors that it's hard to know what's fact. But the fact that his key card for the Tesla was found in a gutter, either somebody setting him up super bad, or he did it. And the reason I lean towards him just a little bit more is because she was missing for a month when he was on tour, and he didn't call her one time. He didn't ask anybody. He wasn't looking for her. He didn't ask about her. He didn't, nothing. That's what I find strange. Oh, no problem, James. I appreciate you being here so much. So much. Even if we don't all agree, it's nice to come to a place where we can just say our opinion and nobody's going to hate you or anything for having a difference of opinion. I don't care if you disagree with me. I just like that you're here and we can talk about it. Yeah, he has so many songs about unaliving people. I mean, the girl's name is Celeste, and he has a song called Celeste that's about being in a relationship with her and then I think unaliving her. It's just wild. Yeah, I love our chat. Our chat is great. I could literally sit in our chat for an entire day and never get bored. Thank you. I appreciate that, John. I love the chat. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hop off. It's dark, but I'm going to get Bronxy to the park just for a little bit. Thank you, my mods. You guys are the greatest. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate all of you. I suppose I should have turned the comments on earlier so you could see it on screen. Ugh. All right, guys, I appreciate you being here. Everybody, do something nice for yourself, especially this weekend. Be kind, but more importantly, be kind to your animals. Yes, I love that everybody here is just a safe space. All of you guys. I appreciate all of you guys so, so much. All right, guys, have a good night. Have a good weekend.